an outstanding game against the University of Memphis. But again, I'm just really happy for our players, the guys that have worked so hard, and especially the older guys that last year this time was gut-wrenching and heartbreaking, and for them to rally and to have a really good season for a lot of them in their last year. This is a nice reward for them. So, looking forward to the tournament and excited for the Clemson fan base that we're going to be playing.
Brad, I know you said you're happy with your players, but how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm excited. Obviously, this is what you want to be in, right? You want to be involved in these kinds of games, these opportunities, and I'm super excited, and happy for my staff. Our staff, works tirelessly. I don't think people realize the amount of hours that we work, and obviously we love the game, but we love being in big games, and so being a part of this tournament is significant, and it doesn't get old.
Coach PJ said that you all had a couple of really good practices since Wednesday. Obviously, you would have liked to go deeper in DC, but
Yeah.
9 days off is some much needed rest, isn't it?
Yeah, hopefully, we handle that well. Certainly wish we would have played better in our last game. I don't really know what happened. It wasn't that we weren't ready to play. We were ready to play. We had prepared properly. We did all the motivational stuff you can do as a coach to get your guys ready. I think Boston College was playing really well, and they kind of punched us in the mouth early. We took the first one, bounced back there, and then for whatever reason, the game got away. And we haven't been a great team when we've gotten behind. We're not really built like that as much as maybe some other teams. And so that's been a little bit challenging for us, and is obviously a major obstacle in the game that we couldn't get past against Boston College. So having said that, we've had some team meetings, and obviously we've discussed the poor performance, and to be honest with you, I really got into our guys a little bit. I was more than disappointed in them at what happened at the ACC tournament, and they took responsibility, which they should. I mean, I did too after the game, and we talked about a lot of different things, and hopefully getting everybody on the same page. And obviously we've had 2 practices on Saturday and 1 on Sunday. And since that time, we took Friday off, and we've had very good competitive, spirited practices. For about a week and a half now, we've been able to have PJ and Ian back practicing on a consistent basis, so that's been good, necessary in order for us to continue to improve. So, we had them back leading into Boston College, so I would have thought that we would have played better, but we just didn't.
What's it take to be successful at an NCAA tournament game? Is there anything special or unique about it?
No, I think you try not to make it more than it is. I think sometimes it's the ACC tournament too. Kids can, and we have a tendency when we get behind, sometimes we try too hard. Like, I think we take some quick shots. Guys on our team who are good players want to help. But sometimes you can feed the animal a little bit by trying to do too much instead of trusting in your process and in what you're doing as a group. And if you get outside of that, I don't think it's good. So handling the emotions of all of it, making sure that you're just focused on the details of the game, managing your emotions as best you can. I think those are significant. And as a coach, not overplaying it all. There's certainly, you're not naive to what's going on, and you embrace what you're doing, and want your guys to really enjoy it, because these are lifetime memories for these guys. I've had more than one guy already tell me that, like, Coach, I dreamed about this when I was a kid. Hey man, you're still a kid, but it's good that you had those dreams, right? And I think sometimes folks forget about that. These guys have been very successful, but it's hard to make the tournament. There's a lot of guys that maybe make one tournament in their college career. Obviously there's a few schools that are in every year, it seems like, but there's a lot of people that are rotating those last few spots all the time, and so these are big experiences for these guys. Our guys were giddy and excited, and all day today, and you know, they'll be excited for the next several days.
We talked months ago about the love that drove that early success for this team, and talked a lot about that word love and loving each
Yeah.
other. For you as a human,
Yeah.
to have one of those guys that you love say something like that, I mean, that's,
Yeah, no, it makes you feel good. Obviously, I do think our team, you know, cares about each other, and you know, certainly when everything is going great, right? And it's, I mean, you watch it in basketball. I talked about it. If you guys remember, I told you that, I don't know if people want to listen, but I told you guys before the tournament, I said lower seed or higher seed, I guess, could very well win this thing. So like NC State goes and wins it. I think I told you earlier, I think it speaks to the depth of our league. I mean, there's 11, 12, 13 teams that could beat anybody in the league. And it's like you catch lightning in a bottle a little bit and you ride the momentum, and like playing 3 and 4 and 5 days in a row. There's something like, there's a bigger spirit going on through your team. And I think we had that for a while in November and December. We were just playing so well. There's like no adversity, very little adversity. And I told our guys, like, you know, there's going to be a point here where we're going to get smashed in the mouth a couple times and we're going to have some bad things happen. Basketball is a long season with a lot of games. You know, you have a bad week or two in basketball, it could be 4 or 5 games. And, you know, then you got to respond. And then there's just going to be things that happen in games where you lose some games by a point or two, and you play well. You might even lose by 3, 4, or 5. And like, I mean, I thought we played really well against Wake Forest at Wake for the most part and didn't win. And that happened some. But keeping the team spirit together for 5 or 6 months, which is what we all have, you know, having done this for almost 30 years or whatnot, like, it doesn't always, it's rare that happens. You're always going to have a couple of rough patches and you got to work through them. And I think that's happened to our team a couple times. And, you know, hopefully we're back in a good place and ready to play really good basketball. I think we have good confidence. We have good older players. But at the end of the day, you do have to perform. And I think there's, you know, and to win games against good teams in tournament settings, you got to perform. A lot of guys have to perform. You can't have 1 or 2 guys perform. And, you know, that's kind of what happened to us in the ACC tournament, is we didn't have very many guys perform. And so we got to get some good positive vibes back. We started it Saturday and Sunday, and hopefully that'll continue this week.
How do you balance the hard coaching that has to come after a loss like that with whatever it takes to sort of produce the free and loose spirit that you have to have?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the big key in coaching is, you know, when to apply pressure and when to take pressure away from your guys, when to be demanding and when to be patient. Those are hard situations, you know. I haven't been as demanding with this team in certain situations because, to be honest with you, I don't have a group that handles that as well. And sometimes that's a little bit how kids are. More kids are that way today. You've got to really be careful. You know, you need to challenge them, but you need to challenge them in different ways. You need to talk to them, and you have to explain a lot of things of why. And you know, you have to encourage as much as you can, which we've always done. But you know, and we've tried to do that. And you need to. I think you have to be real with them, though. You know, I think they need to understand what's real, and when they don't perform to the standard that, you know, you've seen them do, or, you know, certainly believe in these kids to be really good players, and so we have high standards for them and high hopes for them, and you know, competitive guys usually respond. But you're not always going to play great. I mean, I think we need to understand that there's going to be times when guys are trying really hard and it's just not going as well. And sometimes that's where, you know, the mental part of it gets into play. You got to have some help there. But again, I think our guys are moving to a good place and certainly excited about this opportunity.
Facing New Mexico, a team that won their conference tournament, from a coaching standpoint, what does that change, if anything, when you know that they're going to come in as confident as they probably have been all season?
Yeah, nothing. I mean, it certainly what they're doing it is working, right? And you just know that they're coming in feeling really good about themselves, and you know, you better be ready from the tip. You know, and a little bit that's what happened to us with Boston College. You know, I've said that too, that I think there's an advantage in the team that has played the first night and won versus the team is coming into the gym the next day kind of cold. I mean, you don't even get to practice in the arena. And so, like, our guys, the first time they're in there is, you know, the 25 minutes before the game, and you don't even get a 45-minute normal warm-up. And so there's some things that are challenging for that higher seed a little bit that you got to play through. You know, they're going to be coming in feeling really good about themselves. I think it's good for us to remind ourselves of good play, and we will do that this week with examples of when our guys were playing, you know, really good basketball, because we've done that a lot this year, and that's why we're in this situation and why we were given a 6th seed. You know, we're one of the top 24 teams in the country based on their regular season performance. That's pretty high level stuff. Now our last performance was a poor one, so we've got to, you know, we've already addressed that, and we'll try to move on from there.
PJ said he was frustrated to see only 5 ACC teams in. Just your thoughts on the conference's overall showing?
Yeah, you know, I haven't had a chance to look at it all. As I mentioned earlier, I'm excited that Virginia got in. You know, I hated that Pittsburgh didn't. I thought they were right there, and I think Wake Forest is easily good enough to get in the tournament and win multiple games. I just think our league is, for whatever reason, maybe the metrics aren't as good, and I think it's something that we as a league have to look at. This is just, I mean, for us to continue to get 5 teams, you know, North Carolina and Duke seem to be regulars with Virginia. That means there's 2 spots for the rest of us. That becomes really hard. You know, we've got to get to the point where we're getting 7, 8, 9 teams in, just like a few of the other leagues. And I haven't seen all the numbers of who got what in, but it's been several years now where this has been the case, you know. And so again, it's really special when you're able to be one of those 5 teams. I mean, it's obviously we were the 6th team last year maybe, and you know, it's frustrating, I think, as a league. I know it's frustrating for the coaches. I don't know that we've done enough as a league to figure out exactly how to address it, but we better get to work on it.
At what point do you think the committee considers past performance in the NCAA tournament?
I don't know. There's some things there that look like it's part of it, right? You know, but who knows? I mean, and it's a really hard job. I mean, there's so many good teams, and you're splitting hairs to pick at the end. You know, it's just, again, and I think that's why a lot of folks are thinking maybe we need to expand. You know, there's a lot of teams that have been in the playing game that have gone on to make Elite 8s and Sweet 16s, and a couple made Final 4s, or at least one I know. And so, I don't know. I just think college basketball is extreme. There's an easy way to say it, parity, right? There's a lot of parity in college basketball. There's a lot of really good coaches. There's a lot of programs that are trying really hard in the sport. Some schools are only basketball schools, and so you forget about those schools that the Big East, that they don't have football, and so everything they're doing at their athletic department is geared towards men's basketball, and that there's some advantages with that. And so you've got to really, you know, again, as a league, we got to look at some things.
You were on PJ last offseason to improve his rebounding, and he has, I believe, 3 in the last 2 games. Is there some nuance there to the way teams are playing him at all?
Not necessarily. No, I don't know that there's anything that anybody's doing differently. You know, he might be away from the basket a little bit more, guarding Quentin Post, Andrew Carr when Efton Reed is out of the game, but not necessarily. I mean, PJ's got to continue to attack the glass. You know, I think Ian is such a good rebounder that, you know, I've told our team that there are times I feel like guys wait on Ian to rebound all the defensive balls. And, you know, our guards got to continue to get involved. You know, Jack, when he's helping us, he's really rebounding at his position. And that PJ's got to continue to work to have a nose for the ball.
You mentioned your guards. Obviously wasn't the best game for them the other day. And of course, when you guys have struggled, those two generally have struggled as well. How big is it to make sure you get them involved early?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, it's I think that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. I mean, your good players have to play well. It's hard when your good players struggle a little bit. We don't have enough bench scoring. We don't have, you know, I mean, Jack and Ian aren't guys that are looking to get 20 in very many games. I mean, so yeah, those guys have to play well. But at the same time, I don't think, you know, like when you try to force it sometimes, we don't play well. So I think Joe and Chase have to pick their spots. They got to be opportunistic. They got to be smart. They got to be efficient. You know, some of the best games of the year happen when guys are more efficient. I thought Joe's game at Syracuse this year was incredible. I mean, the efficiency with which he played, high level, and that's where we need to focus. Our focus needs to be on efficiency, not just points and field goal attempts and things of that nature. As a group, Chase, PJ, and Joe especially, because they take the majority of our shots. Those guys need to be efficient in how they play.
The guys talk about the emotions of watching a selection Sunday and those nerves going into it. How does it feel as a coach? Does it ever get easier to watch these?
Well, it was a lot easier today than it was a year ago. You know, it's, I mean, there's still anxiousness, excitement. You know, there's joy because of the amount of work. You know, like our staff today, we've been in here most of the day. We obviously had practice. You know, there's a joy in, like, you know, hey, we made it. We know we made it. And again, there's just so many people that don't. Like, obviously, we've got all the friends in the coaching profession, you know, that we're getting texts from. And, you know, then you have a friend that's in a different league that maybe he's in a mid-major league and they win. You know, like Matt Buckland and Mark Bynting at James Madison. I coach Matt Buckland's on our staff. You know, he's getting ready to have a baby today or tomorrow. And he's calling me today, just, Coach, where do you think you are? You know, you know, for a while there, we were worried we were going to play him. You know what I mean? 5-12. And we lost enough to get out of that. So, but it's, you know, I think, like, we have all those conversations with different coaches and colleagues. Like, I've talked to Lamont several times this year at South Carolina. You know, we didn't speak today, but we spoke last week. You know what I mean? Just like, hey, pretty cool, we both made it. You know what I mean? And it's just, so I think there's a professional thing that's going on with all of us, that when you make it, like, everybody knows how hard it is, right? I mean, obviously there's a lot of coaches losing their jobs, and so you feel for there's friends that you have and colleagues in the business that are going through very difficult times. So yeah, these are good days when things are going well, but you know, like a year ago, this was heartbreaking. I mean, it was one of the hardest days I had in coaching last year, and because you're looking at young men and guys that you've been working with that, you know, they're dreaming of that, and we miss it by one game. That's hard. So, long-winded answer.
You just mentioned about Lamont. I mean, you know, them going to the tournament as well. First time since 1996, both teams have gone. How big is that for the state of South Carolina, you think?
It's great. College of Charleston. You know, I think it's awesome. And certainly I think basketball in the state has improved since I've been here. I've been here 14 years. High school coaching has gotten better. AAU guys have done a really good job, and you know, we have a smaller state, so we don't have quite the population to produce as many players sometimes, but I do think the quality of basketball has really improved, you know, obviously that helps all the schools in the state, you know, so that's pretty cool. Hope I didn't leave anybody out. Off the top of my head, I haven't thought, is there anybody else in the state that won that I didn't think of off the top of my head? I can't think of it.
I can't either.
Don't think so.
Okay.
Not men's, yeah. As a coach that's won in the NCAA tournament before, what does it take to kind of start stacking wins?
Players play good. Players play good. Players make good plays. I mean, these games are about great players. There's a lot of, you know, the best teams in the country are in this tournament. New Mexico's got incredibly talented guards. You have to play really well. You got to play together, certainly. And I talked about the efficiency is important. But just, you know, I think you gotta enjoy it. I think you've gotta play together, and then you're really good players. They gotta play well.
Just a logistics question, where are
Mhm.
you guys, do you have like, I know your coaches are already at work
Yeah.
right now, but, what does the rest of the week look like before you guys head for Memphis?
Yeah, we're still putting it all together. There's meetings going on right now with the athletic department, and, I'm sure the NCAA is in contact with travel, right? We're kind of at their mercy. I'm hopeful that we'll leave 2 days before or whatnot, Wednesday, and get out there. We'll lift and shoot and maybe do some skill stuff tomorrow. We've worked hard the last 2 days, so tomorrow we won't do quite as much. We are on spring break, so I do want to keep the guys, focused and busy a little bit. And then that'll give us Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to put together a plan for the Friday game. So my guess is we'll travel Wednesday. There's a lot that goes into it from the standpoint of players, right? Like, I'm sure they're all on their phones with their moms right now, and hey, what's the plan? Well, how do we get tickets? Where are we going? Because Memphis is close, which is great. And so, we'll have a little bit of that to deal with. Thankfully, we've got a lot of folks Andy Astley that handles a lot of that. Lucas McKay, we got a lot of guys that behind the scenes do a great job of helping us. Tim Matched is a superstar when it comes to this. So it'll be, a lot of people trying to get it organized so that we can just focus on basketball.
You mentioned how some coaches are getting fired for not making the NCAA tournament. Do you support a decision to expand the tournament to more teams?
Yeah, you know what? I haven't thought about it a lot, but I'm moving that way. I get the whole thing of keeping it special. I do like the mid majors playing against, the high majors. I don't want to see it I don't want it just a high major tournament. It could happen. I don't think. But I don't think expanding it. I think there's ways you could add a couple more Dayton sites and let a few more teams in. I don't know how many. But because the teams are doing as well as they are, and because this is such a meaningful thing for those kids to be a part of, that I do think there's some rationale for doing that. And everything that we're doing is pretty much a lot of pro student athlete stuff, but this would be something. Obviously expanding the college football is going to have more kids involved. I think will be really good. Maybe making it a little bit bigger so that we can have a few more kids get. I think about Hunter Tyson and my guys last year, and just how close they were. That for them to experience that would have been significant.
Any more questions for Coach?
Your non-conference schedule?
Yeah.
A lot of teams from that non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Did you take any of that with you into the tournament?
It's a long time ago, so I don't know. I do think, playing in some of those venues and having success certainly were good experiences for our guys. Again, a lot of credit to Coach Bender, all the hard work he put into trying to find some of these games, the Boise States and Alabamas, and obviously we got South Carolina, the TCU. It's incredible to think, Boise State ended up being a quad one win, top 30 in the country, win TCU top 50. Jamie had an outstanding year. Alabama was top 15, top 10. But to be able to put that kind of schedule together you're a little lucky. Memphis, I think, was right around quad 175. And then UAB, it's ironic because those dudes are talented, man. Those dudes, when they're playing, holy cow, can those dudes get some things done. Like, we played them that night, you see them, and they're like, I watched them a couple times this weekend when they won that tournament. They look dynamite. So Andy's really got them going, but I think those games were good for us, and obviously I think they helped us get in and get a good seed, having success against quality opponents.
All good? Okay.